The king is not dead. Nick Kyrgios comes from a set behind to record his first win since 2022. We've got all the latest from a round one packed with Aussie winners in Miami. New sensations. Young stars dominated the headlines at Indian Wells. We take a closer look at the numbers behind Mirra's rise to the top. And Quizmaster Brie. Strap yourselves in because Brie will be taking us back in time for this week's top 5.
When did Brie become the quizmaster? I thought that was my role.
Of audio.
Oh.
Audio
You're the
Quizmaster.
TV. You're broadcast Quizmaster.
Yeah. Plus, we can't afford you. Brie,
No.
cheap as chips.
Cheap as chips.
Yeah.
Basically.
Free.
Great.
Yeah. The fact that she's paying us to be here is a bit of fun. So, as we were saying, Brie is back in the chair, of course. I'm more of her co-host than she is mine. And across the deck, we've got Todd Woodbridge. Welcome back.
Great to be back. I feel like it's a new life. It's a new year.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry, Johnny.
Yeah. It's great to be back. It's been last few weeks we have been finishing off the other game show.
The lesser of the two, yes.
The tipping point is done for me for my season. So
Woohoo!
now it's back on to tennis, to Roland Garros, to all the next 3 majors and everything in between. So I'm back at my roots.
Excellent. So you've got a tiny little bit of respite before the tennis world takes you over your entire life.
Exactly.
Okay,
Well,
well,
heading to a
it's
terrible
taken-
city of Paris.
It's taken over my... How good was it? I lived in Paris for 6 weeks last year.
I know.
Yeah.
The
We've
Olympics
started to
and
think that you were a
Roland Garros.
citizen.
It's a Parisian.
Yeah, I
I
love
came home with the
Paris.
attitude and everything.
Yeah.
you got to get off those ciggies, Todd. All right. And he's more than just a numbers man. He's also a bit of a baker. Please welcome Levi Huddleston.
Thanks, Dave.
Really good to have you back. What have you been up to?
Baking.
I did bake a cobbler recently.
A
Which
cobbler?
I found out
Of
that
the
maybe
peach?
that's not a very popular term here, cobbler, but yeah, it's basically
Would we
like
call it a crumble?
maybe a crumble, but it's
Okay.
more bready top on
Oh.
and then some
I
blackberries.
thought you meant a cobbler loaf of bread.
That's
a thing,
cob
right?
loaf.
Oh, that's cob.
I mean, I immediately thought you were mending shoes. Like a little elf.
Me too. The cobbler. And did it taste right?
You know, it was a risk because I brought it in and I hadn't tasted it,
Oh,
but
And you're still here.
You brought it to work
it was,
as well.
it was a birthday.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so nice. How come we weren't invited to have any?
We've been exiled to the far end of the
Not
corner.
Yeah, but
Exile.
it's like 20 steps away.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, well,
It was a small gathering. We didn't want it to get too
an
big.
intimate ceremony of 49.
Okay, that's noted. Next time
Yeah.
we have birthday cakes, we won't be sharing.
Yeah.
Brie
Oh.
buys
Yeah.
hers.
I hope
I
this
buy
gets
mine.
cut.
Yeah.
And I'm quite happy not to have a birthday, so it's good.
That's all right. You can't turn 40 again and
No,
again and
I
again and
know.
again, Todd. All right, well, should we jump in with probably some big news here in the tennis world? The PTPA and the upcoming lawsuits. And, you know, there's still a little bit of ambiguity. What's happening? Who's doing what, where, what city, what country? It's been interesting, to say the least. Obviously a very developing story. But, Todd, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've been around a fair while now, so I've seen some iterations of these types of things happen throughout the game. So in my late teens, it was the car park at the US Open with the players sort of demanding to have more say, like within the schedule, and then getting the ATP Tour reinvented in a way that it became a partnership, that the players had more say, became equal with the tournaments, and just reading all of the what would you call it, the dialogue, the facts that are going into this case, it's going to be a fascinating time. I think it's sort of just a little shake-up.
Yeah.
I can't see any more than that coming out of it.
And it's not the
because-
first time that there's been a shake-up in professional tennis or even sports in general.
No. And look, if you look at from my perspective, from where we've come to where I was at the beginning of my career, I mean, it's leaps and bounds in that direction. I mean, superannuation packages for players, you know, we had the smallest amounts. They got great amounts. I mean, everything is better. Yet if you read this, you'd be saying it's so worse, and it's not. So I think it's going to be a hard case to win.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of winning is opening up discussions at the table to look at where you can make things better, and you can implement different strategies within the game that help the game. And in some ways, that might be pulling all of these groups together to go, hey, let's take a look at that. And let's be honest, over the history, a lot of those groups, I call them like an octopus or a squid that swims, and the tentacles come in and then they're together, and then they go back out and then they come back in. And this is a time of like coming together, and they'll have to work together, and then that can only be good.
great metaphor.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I really
It's sort
like
of like
that.
they just go
yeah,
and-
it
But
really
also,
does
you're
make sense.
if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the beautiful
Yeah.
pantomime puppetry
Yeah.
of Todd
Yeah.
being an octopus or a squid.
Yeah,
We'll just make sure that ink doesn't come out, right? Because that's
But there
when
could
it's
be a
bad
bit of
news.
there could be a bit of that.
Well, there's
I'm
plenty of
sure.
ink being put to paper now, but developing story. I'm sure we'll find out what's going on. We'll take a little quick break now, and after that, we're going to have our little Indian Wells wrap up. Stick around.
Thanks, team. Danny, we have two new Indian Wells champions. On the women's side, Mirra Andreeva, and on the men's side, Jack Draper. Let's start off with the women first. And Mirra, what an incredible story. A terrific tournament. It's capped off by a remarkable win over world number one, Aryna Sabalenka.
Oh, Duncan, what an incredible final there was. And I don't want to say anything, but I could feel it coming. I know Aryna was obviously a huge favorite going into this one, already beating Mirra twice this year. But there were just too many similarities with my first final.
Really?
Her backhand down the line, her favorite shot. First time being in a huge final. When I played Hingis, Sabalenka won in her semifinal 6-love, 6-1. Hingis won against Selesh 6-love, 6-1. Everyone is expecting the number one to win. Hingis was number one at the time as well. And you know, you're just playing with free money. There's no pressure on you. And I was just so impressed mentally how she managed to turn the match in that second set. It almost felt like she was getting flat and a little bit down, Mirra, on herself, just like she did in Melbourne against Sabalenka. But boy, did she turn it around. And from that second set onwards, she just got into a little bubble on her own. She stopped looking at her coach. She was like, you know what, guys, I've got this. I'm going to manage to find my way through this match. And now she's the youngest one to win this tournament, which I'm super happy for.
17 years of age, the youngest since Serena Williams all the way back in 1999. She's up to world number 6 now, Danny. Can she go on and win a Grand Slam this year?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we always feel like she has the game, but now with her mentality, working with the psychologist and just really playing my point, I would say even more impressive was that semi-final against Swiatek, where after that second set losing big time, she just managed to turn it around like no one, and she showed a lot of mental strength, and I think great things are coming for Mirra this year.
And a dream run for Jack Draper. Wins over Joao Fonseca, Jensen Brooksby, Taylor Fritz, Ben Shelton, Carlos Alcaraz, and today Holger Rune. Incredible win.
I mean, talking about Grand Slam potential, if you're able to beat all these guys, I mean, the locker room is ready for Jack to have a great year as well. And the way he was serving in today's final, I mean, Rune was doing everything he could. He was fighting. It was just impossible to find a way how to get any chance of Draper's serve, and that is going to be his biggest weapon throughout his career. And physically, he showed us today that he can manage the emotions that sometimes affect how he feels on the court, and just never blinked for 1 second, which is a very impressive thing to do, because this tournament obviously is considered as the 5th Grand Slam, and outside the slams this is the one you want to win, so it's normal to get a little bit overwhelmed. This is the second biggest stadium the players play at, but both winners today, they just showed so much mental toughness.
2007 was a special year. It was the year Mirra Andreeva was born, and it was the year that you won your first title here at Indian Wells. Danny, what do you remember from those celebrations? Were there any, or was it just straight on to the next tournament?
Well, there was a plan to take the hot air balloon next morning, but the trick is you have to do it like at 6 a.m. and we're like, yeah, that's not going to happen because we are celebrating quite late at night. I do remember the bet was that we go to Cheesecake Factory to have a cheesecake for some reason, and then we are huge fans of Mama Gina, obviously one of the best Italian restaurants here on El Paseo, where we used to go every single night. So we had to, check those boxes and kept the routine. So we had a busy evening, but it was such fun. And then, actually, my coach thought I was crazy because I made him practice with me the very next morning. I was just so happy, and we were staying at Esmeralda, and there are 2 tennis courts there, and he had this biggest breakfast because he thought it's a day off, obviously. But I was like, you know what? Let's play and let's do some cross down the line. And he's like, are you out of your mind? But that was just me. And then, as soon as that was done, straight on to Miami, and all the focus is there. But I do have to say, it is a pretty special feeling when you arrive to Miami by the time everyone already had 3-4 practice days in, and you kind of walk around a little bit flying about the floor.
Okay. Once a champion, always a champion. Guys, 504,000 people through the gates here at Indian Wells. That is a record. We'll be back a little bit later on to do a preview of the Miami Open.
Big thanks to Danny and Duncan from America. We'll be hearing from them again a little later in the show. But for now, we're going to jump into what's caught your eye. Levi, Duncan and Danny obviously talking about Andreeva. She just keeps winning, and we'll probably keep talking about her even more. But is she one of your caught your eye moments?
Yeah, she is. I mean, it's really interesting to see how she's developed and different parts of her game that have changed over time. So I think the big news that people are all looking at is Indian Wells. She hit a 202 kilometer per hour ace, right? And everyone's like, wow.
There was a bit of chatter about her not understanding what a mile was.
Yeah, I think it was like 120.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know, is that fast? And everyone's like, yeah.
I mean, miles such a really random unit of measurement, so I don't blame her. But yeah, so she hit that 202. And if we kind of track back and we look at the progression of that, when she was a junior in 2023, she had a 161, and that was matching the tour average. So even as a junior, she was matching the tour average. And then each year just progressively she had a bigger and bigger serve till, the AO, she had a 177 kilometer per hour serve. So really massive uptick on the serve. And so she's garnering all these aces out of that, and she's holding serve a lot easier. So now she's kind of positioning herself as someone in the top 10 who's a big server with the likes of Keys and Rybakina. So I think 95 aces already this year. So really big serve for her. Looking at kind of the biomechanics of where that pace is coming from, we actually looked at her wrist speed, and we saw that she was way above the tour average at 9.6 meters per second compared to the tour average of 6.7. So she just has a really quick arm, which I think is maybe a key ingredient to how she's generating so much pace.
When you say wrist speed, what does that mean? What kind of, is it when they come down on the ball kind of thing?
It would be, so we track the movement on the serve.
Yeah,
and so it'd
okay.
be what's the fastest speed your wrist is traveling to impact.
Yeah, to the ball. Yeah,
to
got
the
you.
impact.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to gauge, like, okay, what is 9.6 meters per second? But it's just 9.6 versus 6.7. That's a pretty big gap,
Yeah, wow.
right? So she's really outperforming in terms of her wrist speed there.
A lot of numbers there. What's your wrist speed average, Todd?
Well, it's slowed down.
Can you measure rheumatoid arthritis? That's the
it's quite fascinating to hear that, because I start thinking too, like you're talking wrist speed, I'm thinking that making the racket head travel faster.
Well, that would be the
And
leading edge of that racket. Would be even faster.
So that's what's moving. But then also I'm thinking, okay, to be able to get that, you got to use your trunk, you got to use your legs, and so there's that whole technical aspect to her serve that has really changed and is changing in women's tennis, and I go back to the likes of Serena, you mentioned as one of those, but even a Sam Stosur, they changed the way that women actually come into the ball with the racket head, right? So they come in more underneath it, gets up and over, and gets a trajectory that you can then hit harder, get it up and in. A lot of women's tennis for many years has been dead flat or around the outside of the ball, which is harder to really go at it, or you don't have the speed. So it's really indicating to me that as a young player, the technique and the training and everything is starting to lift the women's game to different levels than what it's ever been before, because those numbers are really big.
And it's not just her serve. I mean, you look at other aspects of her game. It's interesting to even look at her return. When she was a junior, she was, facing other juniors, and she was taking this second serve return really close to the baseline. But then when she got into the main draw in 2024, she's taking that second serve 2 to 3 meters behind the baseline. Now she's more comfortable. 2025, she's within a meter of the baseline, so she's just putting more pressure on the opponent's serve. So
again, that's physicality of strength for her, also body strength.
Yeah, I mean, she's just, I think she entered into the main draw, and now she's like not just entering in as the new person, but she's attacking people's serves, and she's being incredibly
She's
aggressive.
a name. She's a recognizable name.
Oh, absolutely. And was it inevitable for me for her to be starting to do this? Because I think in the commentary box you say it was like watching a young Martina Hingis, but so Martina Hingis, even when you go watch her today, has this incredible ball control and eye for the court, a craft. It's called court craft, and you can't necessarily teach that. You get better at it, but there's an instinctive way about playing, and that's what she has had all the way through juniors and the breakthroughs in Roland Garros and at Wimbledon, and then now you put that with the power. So when Martina was at her best, she ended up getting blown away by Lindsay Davenport and the Williams sisters, and she couldn't hang on because she didn't have the physicality.
Yeah.
And Andreeva's been able to have this courtcraft, add that in, and
With her strength.
and
Yeah.
then
So being crafty, but also able to power back.
And when it comes down to these big matches that she's going to start playing in her career, and you get to semis and finals of Grand Slam tournaments, she then has this ability to be able to go to plan B or plan C in a big match. And we don't see something just fall over because my game's not working today.
Yeah.
So that's where she's just going to just keep, she'll be a number one in the world.
And I wondered too, combined, right? Like, she's got Conchita in her corner, and she made some comments about how she's made it further than Conchita has in terms of that tournament. And then I feel like mentally, Andreeva, for a young girl, is quite strong. Like, she's got a very good perspective on life, because I know even we saw, I think it was on like news coverage, that she had a notebook and she was writing notes during the matches, and she had the opponents' names up the top of
She's
the notebook.
fiery too. She's got some temper in her, and you got to have that.
Feels
You
like
have to.
417. I can't tell you what I was like, because I was not her.
Yeah.
You
And I know you don't want to know.
The other
but
thing about Conchita, you mentioned her, is that obviously she's got a good gift, Andreeva, of being able to absorb the info, and Conchita's done it. She's been there. She knows the pitfalls. She knows the feelings of anxiety and what it's like. So she's able to have those conversations with her athlete. And she also coached one of the best Wimbledon finals that's ever been played, but with Muguruza in a final at Wimbledon, who just tactically came out and played the most perfect match. And so you've got somebody with a sharp mind who's been there before, and an athlete that's willing to respect and absorb. Oof, what a combo.
Yeah. Great.
Sounds like she's caught everybody's eye, and will continue to do so. Sticking with you, Todd, what else caught your eye this week?
Well, I mean, it's about Novak coming back again. Hasn't won since the Australian Open, a match that is. He's won a set, but he takes on Australia's...
You need a few of those, don't you?
You do. You need two of them, usually. He's taking on Australia's Rinky Hijikata, and going to be tough for Rinky. But...
I was going to say, it's not as clear cut as that, though.
No,
is it?
it's
in
not.
the past, we'd be like, oh, poor Rinky.
Yeah, exactly.
But right now,
Go
it's
home
like,
now.
ooh.
But Rinky's a really good, solid player now.
Yeah.
You know, he's a good all-court player and loves playing on the hard courts in the US. That's where he's had his success. But really, you know, the focus in the eyes are watching Novak to see what's going to happen here. You know, how long does he go playing really, I guess, subpar for him? For most people.
On the
it's not.
scale of Novak,
Yeah,
yes.
let's be fair to him. Because you don't go into a tournament when you've been him to be making third or fourth round. You go to win.
Yeah.
And a lot of great champions start to go, well, what am I doing here if I'm playing like this? And you start to second guess yourself. You start to doubt yourself. And there's a little bit of that feeling around. And you know where that feeling starts? In the locker room. Because every one of those guys, including Rinky's, looked at him going, well, I've got a chance.
Yeah.
I do have a
A few
chance.
grey
For the
hairs
first
there.
time in a while. Yeah.
And that's the predicament that Novak's in, and that's what he has to start, finding a way to win matches again. There's only one way to do that, and that's keep turning up at tournaments.
Yes.
And then that's hard too when you've built a schedule based on, I'm so good, I can turn up and win. Now that's not happening. So he's going to have to play a lot of events from now through to Roland Garros if he wants to win any of the majors this year. He can't go in and play three tournaments.
So is this the beginning of the end, or is this time for change?
That's totally up to Novak. That's not my call. Don't try and get me to make
No, I
that
know.
call.
And have
It's
we
up to
already
Andy
been
Murray.
watching the beginning of the end for a little bit now?
It's an inevitable thing, right?
It
It's
is.
the same as, what...
You've got Levi with his biomechanics and wrist speed.
Yeah, but
anything's possible.
it's-
Cyborg Novak for the win.
The hardest part, and when you talk about biomechanics in the body, is how do you get somebody to train, do all the stuff that he does so well, the 1%ers, from everywhere, from the water he drinks to the yoga to this to that. But you can't replicate match play. And that little bit harder that you go into a corner to get a ball out, the little micro tears that happen, the recovery isn't as swift as it once was. And they're the things that we started to see both with Roger first, then with Rafa, and then maybe the wear and tear is starting to catch up with him as well. And then it becomes about how much you can keep yourself out there.
Yeah.
Because I think it's about the tournaments. Do I want to go to Barcelona? Do I want to go to the smaller events that he's going to have to do to get the match wins, to get body fit? Body match fit. They're the big questions coming over the next.
I mean, it is his job.
3 months.
Yeah.
Just
It is his job.
get on the plane, mate.
Yeah. But can the body maintain that?
Yeah.
I think that's
Like,
the question.
It's got all the yogurt.
By walking to and
Coconut
from a
and water.
corporate office. Imagine if you had to be on a court for 6
Yeah.
hours a
Yeah.
day. Training. Like, whew.
Yeah.
I know I'm not an athlete, but like,
And I'm cosplaying a green M&M. For those at home.
you actually are.
With our green screen, you'll just be ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I'm coming to you live from the floating head of tennis at Xavier Muhlebach, everyone. Well, that's very insightful. Good on you, Todd. Thank you for that. Now, caught my eye. I was thinking long and hard about this one. And I always love a good news story, something a little bit, not a puff piece, but the dog at the end of the news. The squirrel on the water skis, that sort of thing. So Alcaraz, he's just the nicest bloke. He's got a smile that could launch 1,000 ships. But, victory in defeat, he always is humble. So looking back to the Australian Open this year, Draper, who he was up against, his young career was marred by injury. He was forced to retire from his 4th-round match here against Alcaraz at the Australian Open. And then afterwards, Alcaraz penned a lovely little message on the camera with his blue texter to send a message of love and support to him. Now, flash forward just 2 months later, Draper then beats Alcaraz in the semi-final at Indian Wells and secured a top 10 ranking for the first time ever. So it really just shows Alcaraz is just nicest bloke in tennis at the moment. Prove me wrong. Silence
I don't
around.
think anyone will contest that.
Good.
No.
Here we go. There's always a biomechanical reason.
No.
His grin is fake. We've measured
His
the,
tooth speed.
the millimeters
Yeah,
of his
tooth
smile.
speed between his
Whoa.
molars.
No, this has
Sorry,
nothing
Levi.
to do with stats.
Right, this is more to do with bacon.
Anecdotal. Yeah,
Okay.
he baked
We
with
call
me.
that
No.
anecdata.
Ooh, that's a good
I
one.
thought you'd like that.
No, I was a member of this tennis club, and he just happened to stop by because it was near the Nike campus in Portland, Oregon, where I kind of lived for a while. And he just stopped by and was watching, I think it was Indian Wells at the time, just with everybody else. He didn't even make a presence. People weren't even, taking pictures or anything like that. And then people realized it was him.
Hang
And
on. Yeah.
it was just, he signed everyone's autographs there. It was just, he was so nice.
He is nice.
He's the nicest guy.
What do you think of him, Todd?
Yeah.
Because you would have much more. Like, we're always making him do stuff in front of
Yeah,
the
whenever
camera.
we're working with him, we've got a camera in his face.
Yeah.
What's he really like?
No, incredibly well mannered, no matter what. Because even when he was here for the AO, he's become a golf tragic, and he was out golfing every other day that he was here, playing 9 holes on his off day, and he's travelled out to all the lovely courses, and everybody that met him in those environments, he was the same as what you're saying. So you just got to hope he's able to
Maintain.
keep that, because
Yeah.
it's hard.
Don't become jaded.
No, you don't, but it's the people around you
Yeah.
that don't let you be something that you shouldn't be.
Yes.
And that's the team that he's got. He's not allowed to be like that. So,
I love that.
kudos to Juan Carlos, to his parents, to everybody there that said, no, treat everybody the same way.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, he's so good for our sport.
Absolutely.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the next generation of kids are looking up to him going, that's what I have to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's done that by watching who?
Rafa.
Yeah.
Oh, Rafa.
Yeah.
I just think Roger's the former nicest guy in tennis. But yeah, Rafa's
but Rafa is the same.
well, countryman. Yeah.
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 Absolutely. Well, last eye to catch. Over to you, Brie.
Well, speaking of Rafa, and obviously I'm going the very highbrow tennis news as per usual. Rafa has joined TikTok.
Finally. Feel good now, Todd?
And
Yeah,
and
I
he's
better
done-
get on.
are you on TikTok?
Hang on.
He's obviously done it in collaboration with TikTok, which is really interesting as well. So watch
so
this
you waited
space.
until he was going to get a check.
I don't know if there's been money exchange, but they have done it together. You can tell. He put up 3 videos in the space of less than 48 hours. He's got 210,000 followers. Be interesting to see what it's on, by the time that this pod goes live. He did a video. He's done 3, but one of the videos I liked is that they showed him some of the top videos his fans have posted. on TikTok, and they recorded him watching them, and there was a video on his water bottle placement. There's a video on what he does before his matches, and he said, "Oh, yeah, I know, it's really annoying. It goes for long, doesn't it? I needed it to focus. I'm going to work on it for maybe if I ever come back." And he was really, really quite dry and funny in his videos. He spoke about Federer. There was a Federer video, and he was like, that was a really big moment for me. I feel like a part of me died when he retired. And I was like, it was actually a really great video. So, you know what? Welcome, Rafa, to the world of TikTok. I'm really excited to see what else he posts.
Collaboration, let's go.
Yeah.
I got an idea. I had this 93-year-old lady, Scott McGraw is a cycling legend here in Australia, and his mum is a Tipping Point fan, and had a lovely photo with her on my Instagram. Would that work on TikTok?
Yes.
It would.
Yes. It was at the
There you
hat
go,
with
open
the
door.
with this I don't stalk
So
you.
Todd, the rule.
But I did see that and thought how cute it was. Yeah.
There we
So
go.
the rule is, Todd, if you look at something and go, "Oh, that's a bit weird. I wouldn't put that online." Yep, that'll work.
That'll
on TikTok.
work.
Yeah, that'll
Okay.
work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right.
Yeah.
Well, good eye catch.
Yeah, and it only happened.
That
I
is
literally
that's
woke
quite
up and saw
interesting.
that video.
All right.
And it was big news when Novak joined TikTok, which is probably about a year ago.
Okay.
So
Who's next?
Me.
yeah, Todd. Yeah, totally.
The world needs more TikTok Todd.
Yeah.
Todd Talk.
Tipping Point TikTok Todd.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for sharing your eye-catching moments.
Good stuff.
Now let's check back in with Danny and Duncan and hear what their title predictions are for Miami this week.
Welcome to Miami.
Thanks, team. Danny, let's take a look at the Miami Open. So many fascinating storylines with this tournament. The big question on everyone's lips, can Mirra Andreeva do the Sunshine Double?
Oof, if she can, I would be very, very impressed, because that is such a tough thing to do. You go from super dry, quick conditions, even though courts were slow, to humidity, chaos, craziness. Wind, well, that was a good practice for the players here, but it's just such a different setup that when you have maybe 1 or 2 days to get used to the conditions, it's just not enough. Even though you just won Indian Wells, you are on such a high confidence levels are there, but you have to accept that it's back to fighting, back to trying to find ways how to get through conditions when they are tricky. So if she can do that at such an early age, I mean, that would be a very extraordinary thing to do. So I don't expect her to be able to win the title, but I do expect her to go quite far.
And on the men's side, no Jannik Sinner, so there'll be no defending champion at the tournament. But who do you like?
I like Carlito chances there. We've got the Spanish, Hispanic crowd going on, great energy, great vibes. Saw him, actually that was very impressive. The first time we kind of started to really take notice was actually that match Carlito against Sinner. I don't know if you remember, maybe 3-4 years ago, I want to say. And we all were sitting courtside. There was Tim Henman, Mary Jo Fernandez, all the TV crew. And we are looking at each other like, maybe we played a different sport compared to what the guys were doing out there. I never forget that match. So I do fancy his chances big time, just because the crowd absolutely loves him there.
What's your favourite memory from playing down in Miami? Because you've actually played at Key Biscayne, right?
Yeah, I remember that even though when I won my titles here, it was not an easy transition to do. And, I struggled earlier on in the first few rounds. But I do remember I got a nice treat to swim with the dolphins, which was very special after winning here. The tournament surprised me with that. And then I got to dine for the first time in Nobu, because we are just next to Nobu.
We are indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Miami Nobu, that was the first time I really started to be a huge fan, obviously, of their food. And it's just wonderful dining, lots going on, so it's not easy to keep your mind on the tennis court in Miami. It's you go from one extreme, we are in this tennis paradise, beautiful flowers, everything is peaceful, kind of bubble, to get back to the chaos and kind of really hard to focus on the matches because there's just so much going on, but in a very exciting way.
Danny, thanks so much for joining us here on The Tennis, and we'll chat to you again soon.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Now, Todd, over in Miami, you've had a bit of double trouble there. You were the double Sunshine double winner.
Yeah, back last century.
Yeah.
1996.
Those were the days.
Yeah, my goodness, Mark Woodford and I. But not easy to do in a sense of conditions. They are very different in a sense. Indian Wells, it is one of the hardest places to play because daytime, in the middle of the day, it gets hot, it gets dry, and the ball flies. And then at about 4:30 in the afternoon, the sun starts to set, it gets cool, it dampens, and it gets heavy, and it's slow. And you got to put jackets and tracksuits on.
Drop,
Oh, it drops 20 degrees.
Wow. Oh, wow.
It's a lot. You know, it can be
not like a 10 or
30.
something.
It can be 30 degrees and it'll be down to 15. Let's say 15 degrees. It's cold. So that's a big change within a few hours. It's a bit like living in Melbourne. Now,
We do that in about 15 minutes, but yeah.
but then so you take that, but generally dryish conditions because you're in the desert. Now you go to Miami where you get a lot of rain. It's surrounded by, the ocean, and it is very heavy. So completely different. When you talk about balls, the balls become slightly damper. They get slightly heavier, slightly fluffier. All of it is an adjustment. But that's what tennis players do. That's what you do with acclimatizing.
Yeah, you play where you are, not just the same game every time.
And so it is a completely different environment to play. And once again in Miami, day to night becomes different. It gets very humid in the evening, so it's a lot damper there. You don't need to wear jackets, and the temperature doesn't drop as much.
You just got to wring the ball out like a wet rag.
But you do. So you've got to you got to make that adjustment. Now, how do you do that? You do it with string tension, but also again time on court. So and understanding that is the case. And many players are very bad at going, I hate the conditions. The balls are no good. The speed's too slow. The court's too quick. I mean, we're great at excuses.
Yeah. Well, because they were known things going into it. You can't be surprised that Florida's humid.
It's adaptability.
Yep.
Wow. So interesting.
Yeah.
And how have we started off
what's happened
in Miami?
Score-wise?
Well, for Aussies, I mean, you got Kim Birrell, who's had a good opening round win against Potapova. She takes on Marta Kostyuk in the second round. Chris O'Connell went down in tight 7-6 in the third to Cabela's Benya. Schoolkate, Tristan Schoolkate. This is a good one for Aussies.
Yes.
A first round win at a tournament like that is big. Takes on Auger Aliassime. Of course, we talked about Rinky a little while ago. He had a big win to take on Novak. But the big one, Nick Kyrgios has a win.
Shocked.
900 days since
So
his
how long
last
it was.
win.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and came from a set down, which is a good sign as well, because it's going to be hard for him to keep winning matches when there's this uncertainty, and he builds the uncertainty about whether he's fit or not. But to beat McKenzie McDonald is a good win.
Yeah, because he's a solid player, right? He's
very
on the
solid.
rise, right?
Yeah, and plus he'd won matches. So we talk about
Yeah.
he qualied there, I think, and you talk about any player of those qualities having 2 or 3 matches under your belt. You got used to being in the conditions. You're acclimatized.
Yeah.
Now he takes on Hantuchova. And he's had some epics against him. Some 2 big ones. One at the Australian Open that he won on John Cain Arena, and one that he lost at the US Open when he had a chance of going through to a semi-final.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a real test. But then I don't think Hantuchova's playing nearly as well as he was back in those times as well. So both of these guys are pushing for something good to happen. But I guess for Nick, it's recovery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How
It's the wrist,
can
right?
and how does he
turnaround.
recover from a 3-setter in tournament play to be ready to go again? So we'll see.
I reckon the Miami crowds will be on his side, though. They're a little raucous, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. I think that he's going to really, ignite the crowd a bit. I think he likes doing that. You see him doing it in Melbourne. I think he'll do it
American
in...
crowds like Kyrgios, right?
Yeah, I mean...
Well, if
He's
they...
entertainment.
Yeah, well, like he's if they don't, then he makes them dislike him.
Yeah.
Which then in turn,
Fuels
weirdly,
him.
turns them around to like him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they go,
Yeah.
it's the boy.
Medvedev factor.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go at you until you see a bit of humor in me, and then you're
And then
on
I'll
my team.
laugh, and then we're all good.
Yeah.
Making friends. Isn't tennis great? All right, well, thank you very much for that little bit of insight. It's time for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. After this, Brie's going to wow us with a Brie quiz top 5.
Oh, I thought she was going to do a song.
Welcome to Miami.
All right, we're back. Where's my camera? Why am I in a different chair? And geez, it's warm. What's going on now, Brie?
High body temperature. No, what is going on? It is my top 5, and I need to be near the panel because we've got some amazing producers here who have set me up with some sounds.
Oh,
Wow.
not
yeah,
just
I
your
know.
numbers.
I
You've
get to
got-
press buttons.
So
It's
your
my
top
second
is
favourite
it-
thing to
It's
do.
a top 5. Is it a quiz top 5 or what is it?
Well, I have taken some excitement and encouragement from watching you on Tipping Point.
Yeah.
Shout out to my best friend who loves Tipping Point, Brit. And we're going to do a quiz this week. So we heard earlier about one of our favourites that we keep talking about for the past few weeks, Mirra Andreeva. So I wanted to do a quiz on the fact that she was born in 2007, which is 17 years ago. Can you believe that? 2007 feels like yesterday for me. But anyway.
I mean, what she's doing at 17, it's just...
We're going to do a history quiz instead
on
of
her.
top 5, just key facts. So how good is everyone's 2007 knowledge?
Well, where was I? I would have been in year... No, I was at uni. I'm older than I thought.
I was out of uni.
Okay.
I was in Sydney.
I was Dancing with the Stars.
Wow.
Oh, okay. I was not doing that. I was doing some terrible
For our
job that I
UK
had
listeners,
to do.
that's our version of Strictly.
Yeah, Strictly.
Strictly dancing.
Wow. I was at a middle school dance, so different type of
Type,
dance,
yeah.
but
Middle school.
you know, it was
Look at our
probably-
varying ages. You're in uni. I was in the corporate world in Sydney.
Todd was
Todd
ruining
was
his
dancing.
career. I mean, starting his
And you're
media
in
career.
school.
I was learning.
You were in high school.
Yeah.
You were learning. Anyway, let's go.
Okay.
Number 1. We heard about Danny taking out the women's title at Indian Wells in 2007, but the men's tournament also proved to be quite monumental. Novak made his first ever Masters 1000 final, and Roger Federer, who was on a 41-match streak at the time, lost in the second round to a lucky loser who'd only recently returned from a year out of the game. Who was the lucky loser?
Todd.
Gosh, no.
Okay, we'll have a clue if necessary. Thank you,
Lucky
producers.
Loser had a year out of the game.
From Argentina. Peak singles ranking of number 8.
Oh, the guy that looks like a Bond villain.
Oh, well, I thought Del Potro got higher than 8.
No, who's...
Come on,
Chile?
Levi.
I don't know. I don't know.
No,
what to
he's
say.
You cannot be serious. Absolutely.
He
Thank you, John.
He does look like a
Argentina.
Bond villain, though. But anyway.
I'm going to say the name wrong, but
Guillermo.
Guillermo Canaz.
Oh, it's Guillermo Cañas.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You know I'm bad with names.
That sounded like an Italian dessert.
Delicious.
Just don't get it from the tourist trap bar.
Guillermo Cañas.
Okay, cool. Let's go on to number 2. This song was number 1 in Australia on the 29th of April 2007, the very day Mirra Andreeva was born. I'll give you 1 point for the artist and 1 point for the song title.
Well, that's Avril Lavigne. Avril Lavigne. Girlfriend? No. Clue.
You won.
Weren't you dancing to this in
Well,
middle
what-
school?
I wasn't
Wasn't
sure
that
if
like
it was mine to answer.
yeah?
I thought it was.
That's you. That's you.
Wait, is Avril Lavigne from Australia or is
No.
the top
no,
chart?
Canadian, isn't she?
the song was number 1 on the day Mirra
I was
Andreeva.
thinking
You
Australia.
need to
you were
focus
thinking
on
like,
the
you know,
question.
I was gonna say the Veronicas, Untouched. That was gonna be my.
I feel so... No, I won't go into it.
Okay, let's
Did
get
you
on.
dance to that? Dance with the Stars, Toddy?
No.
Let's get on to number 3. Who won the women's single title at AO 2007? Bonus point for the runner-up.
I've got a heap of posters here.
God, 2007.
That's
Oh, let's say Serena Williams defeated Venus.
Okay, you got half point.
Venus beat Serena.
No.
Serena beat...
Would it be Sharapova?
Well done!
Oh!
I just
Wow.
want to thank me for always
There we
believing
go.
in me
Woo!
and,
Okay, let's keep this one moving.
Please.
4. The final one in its series. Which book was published in July 2007 and sold 11 million copies in its first 24 hours?
7.
Ooh.
Is it vampires or
It would it be
dystopian
Harry
future?
Potter?
Oh my goodness!
Wizards.
Oh. See, this is in my.
Yeah, this is
I
your
was
wheelhouse.
right when I was
What
really
was the
into
title
it.
of that particular?
Deathly Hallows, maybe, or
Yeah,
Half-
Deathly Hallows.
Oh,
Oh my
Levi.
goodness! All
There we
bonus
go.
points for you.
These were core memories for me. That's why.
Nothing beats Harry Potter.
Yeah.
On to 5. Let's bring this home.
Come on.
Then
get one
ranked
right.
number 4 in the world, the 23-year-old Kim Clijsters announced her retirement in May 2007. Following the birth of her daughter, she returned to tennis 2 years later. How many more Grand Slams did she win
2.
after this comeback?
2.
Obviously, this flop here doesn't know.
Wow. I mean, I guessed and Todd was
Well,
confident.
no,
We're both wrong.
she won US Open.
Yes.
Did she? So she must have only won one.
It's 3. Obviously, it's 3.
It's 3.
It's 3.
Smashed
Wow.
US Open 2009
Yeah.
and 2010.
it. And 2010.
Oh.
And then AO 2011.
And then the Australian Open in 2011.
it's
wow.
the back-to-back?
Yeah.
I didn't recall.
But anyway, well done for participating. You all get a little award.
What a journey. I think Todd probably has a few notes, like shorter questions, yeah? Like
Okay,
that wouldn't
moving
land
on.
tipping point, would it?
No, it depends. But
I thought I delivered them pretty good.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Especially Guillaume.
Anyway, speaking of Kim Clijsters,
Good call.
she joined us this week on the Sit Down, our other podcast,
Yes.
sister to this one. She dialed in from Indian Wells and had a chat to Matt Trellope about all things tennis, success as a mother, and some of the players she'd love to play with that are on tour at the moment.
Great. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, let's go.
Your name comes up a lot, particularly now, because there are so many big names that have made recent comebacks to the tour as mums. But you're the only one that's ever managed to win a Grand Slam. I mean, obviously, Yvonne Goolagong, Margaret Court did it, but I think you're the most recent player to win a Grand Slam as a mum. And we've seen a lot of players do well and come close, but they've never done what you did. And I just wonder, well, it's a hard question, I guess, but why do you think that is?
I don't know. I feel like Serena definitely was the one that has come the closest, right, to winning. I think, I don't know how many finals she made. I think maybe 3 or something as a mom when she came back. I don't know. I feel I'm so ready for a new mom to hold a Grand Slam trophy. Because I'm proud seeing, so many women in the draw and see the kids walk around here and seeing, their family members in the players' restaurant. And that's what it's all about. I mean, I remember the first year. So when I came back in 2009, I came back in Cincinnati and I was playing a tournament there. And there was a player that came up to me and said, oh, man, I wish I did what you did. And that I had, the guts to do it. Because now I'm mid-30s and don't have a partner. I've, been playing a career. And so it really kind of it really made things sink in for me and realize oh wow, people, this is an issue for a lot of women, right? I don't know, there's so many women where your clock starts ticking and you feel like you want to start a family, but at the same time you also feel I've been playing tennis for 20 years or even longer, working to be at this level and to play the Grand Slams and having sponsors or not, but focused on your ranking. And so it's a tough situation to leave to start a family.
Whew, awesome to get Kim on the sit down last week. Don't forget to queue that up on your podcast app and listen to the full episode once you finish this one. Available anywhere you listen. Now, let's bring it home with Ace of the Week, where each of us shares a non-tennis highlight. Cannot stress that enough. Non-tennis, keep it fun. From our week. Todd, you've barely watched any tennis this week. Come on, we'll kick us off. What's your Ace of the Week?
My Ace of the Week was I actually had a break.
Oh,
yes. Can I say that? Is that allowed to have a personal break?
Yep.
We actually encourage it these days.
I banged on about that last week for a good 10 minutes.
I went to New Zealand.
Beautiful.
To play some golf just north of Auckland, and it was stunning. And so I've come back exhausted, but slightly recharged.
Good.
And that's really cool. That was my Ace of the Week.
But how's your short game going?
Not bad. Good. Yeah, but tennis players play golf the way they play tennis. I don't hit it very far.
In your place with a friend? You're a doubles player.
Well, yeah, you can have a caddy or someone. But
Todd's daughter is a professional golfer.
Well, no, not quite. But
Is she not?
Good player though, very good player. She wanted to be, but didn't quite work out. But that's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
Sorry,
She's fine.
I got it wrong.
That's right. We put all his money in Bo now.
Yeah. But tennis players play golf. So I didn't have a very big serve, so I don't hit the ball all that far. So it means I had good low volleys because the ball came back so fast at me. I had to get that. So short game's good.
Great.
Because you've got to get it. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, except they're stupid in golf.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They don't give themselves a second serve.
It's very true. There's no second chance.
Can't you just drop
It's not
the
the best
ball
of
on the
two.
court?
You
You
can.
know?
Yeah. Keep one in your pocket. You can have as many as you want.
There we go.
Oh, I found it.
Good one. Thank you, Todd. Levi, ace of the week. What do you got?
Mine, I went down to Mornington Peninsula.
Yes, good.
And it was just gorgeous down there. I went with some friends, and we went to a winery, went to the beach. Yeah, it was great. It was a great weekend for it.
That you could do a lot down there. Plenty of wineries, breweries, gin distilleries.
Did you do the hot springs, which I like to call
that's
the
yeah, you can do
human
it.
soup?
Ooh, no.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. But
I didn't enjoy it, so
maybe
wanna
maybe
be-
won't.
That's
Swimming
great
around.
advertising for the hot
Yeah,
springs.
exactly. No, there's two really big ones down there. One of them's really, really good, and one of them's a bit
The
meh.
old
But
one, yeah.
I'm trying to not
Oh,
say
sorry.
which one's which.
The
Can you just
morning.
quickly Google defamation law in Australia? That'd be great. So, Brie, keep us going. What's your ace of the week?
my ace of the week, and I think you'll like this, Todd. I have one of my good friends is Scottish, and she also likes to do something once a month that pushes us all out of our comfort zones.
Mm-hmm.
So on Saturday, we went to a Scottish Highland jig meetup at
yeah.
a community hall in Brunswick, and we learned.
Did you do the
to
Kaylee?
Yes.
Yes.
We learned to Scottish jig. It went for 2 hours. It was that really hot Saturday night as well. We were sweating and laughing so hard, and it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
And we've now booked tickets to go to the Highland Ball.
Get your sash out.
Yeah, I know. Gonna get a tartan dress.
You'll have to find
mate.
your family tartan.
I know.
Is Stewart- yeah, Stewart's
we have-
Scottish, right?
We're Scottish, Irish
there you go.
ancestors. Yeah.
Mongrel.
Scottish on one side, Irish on the other. But yeah, it was so much fun.
Good.
Like just silly fun.
That's great.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, that's a Scottish motto, isn't it? Just silly fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Really loved it.
Nice one.
Okay,
Thanks,
Zay.
Brie. All right, my ace of the week. Probably every podcast everyone listens to has probably spoken about this, but I cannot stress enough. There is a 4-part series on Netflix that's just dropped in the last week or so. It's called Adolescence. It's a drama.
Oh, I watched it on the plane
It
on the way
is-
back from New Zealand.
good,
Isn't
Yeah.
it? It is, as you know, you've got a son. I've got 2 young boys. You know, even as a non-parent, I'm sure people can relate
Oh,
that it
totally.
is just so powerful. I refer to it as kind of this year's Baby Reindeer, that
Yeah.
show that no one really knew about until it hit, and then it took over the world.
And then you can't stop thinking about
There-
it. I haven't been
dead
able to
right.
stop thinking
Seen it?
about it.
I haven't seen it, but now I want to watch
It is, but anyone will look at it and go,
Well,
"Whoa."
for that too, but I got a son who's in that acting game.
Yep.
So I'm watching the young guy, and I don't know his name yet.
Well, no one did until
I've
now.
just started to see
That
This
was
is
his
his
first
first
gig.
role.
He was extraordinary.
Incredible.
Amazing.
It just, he was like, wow.
Yeah. And if you're a cinema lover, the cinematography in this, every episode of around an hour is a single continuous shot. Not made to look like a single continuous
Yeah.
shot. It is legitimately, they
Really?
push the button on the camera and away they go.
And they try to do it
Yeah.
in less
They attach
than
it to
10
a drone.
Is
and-
that supposed to be like a home video feel?
Oh, it's very, very high end. So,
Yeah.
but it's more voyeuristic. So it's
Got
taking
it.
you on this
Yeah,
journey.
you're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like,
You felt like you were
standing
part of
beside.
it.
Wow.
Yeah, and they tried to do, you know, because obviously there would be some mistakes, and they said we don't want to do more than 10. Like 10 takes to get it all in one take kind of thing, if that makes sense. And on average, they had to do 13 per
So
episode.
they did
Wow. That's
I mean,
still so impressive.
that is
Still
yeah.
impressive. Yeah,
Yeah.
really impressive. So, yeah.
And there's one mistake that they left in because it actually
saw that
worked.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I don't think this is a
Is
spoiler.
this with the dad?
No, maybe there's
There was
two.
one with the dad.
There was
as
one
well.
where the boy is in a room having an interview with,
yawns.
and he yawns because he's just tired. He's been working, and the woman he's speaking to, who's a psychologist, just quickly comes back and, "Am I boring you?"
Yeah.
And he does this cheeky little smile, and then they move on with it.
Kept
and it is-
rolling.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is powerful.
It was
It's
so
insightful.
amazing.
If you think it's going to be a thriller, don't go into it with that because it's not a thriller. It is purely a story told in 4 parts.
I think it has so many important lessons in it
Absolutely
for
agree.
everyone in
Yep.
this current
Parents, kids, non-parents,
age.
teachers.
with social media, the internet,
Yep.
everything.
Internet's
Yeah.
evil. Don't forget to like and
Yeah.
subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Well, that's it for the tennis this week. Thank you all for being a part of the show. Join us again next week. We'll be getting into the pointy end of proceedings in Miami. And don't forget, you can watch this episode and all episodes of the tennis on our YouTube channel, Australian Open TV. And while you're there, be sure to hit the bell, subscribe, do all those sorts of things. You can be a part of the tennis all year long. Thank you so much to the team for coming
Great to
back
be
here.
So
Very
good
good.
to have you
Thank
back,
you.
Todd. We've
Both of
missed
you. Are you two,
Yeah,
Levi?
no.
Well, he was in
Levi.
a... This,
Yeah, well, for
we've
me-
seen him.
I
For-
didn't bring the cobbler. But
Yeah, that's been
next
that's right.
time.
Next week,
Centre.
next week we'll have a bake-off. You and me.
Oh, that'd be excellent.
That's
Yeah.
cute.
Super cute. Well, thank you very much, team. And that's it for the tennis
See you
this week.
soon.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Miami.
Welcome to Miami.